obviously you're not a golfer.
I must have drank me about 15 Dr. Peppers.
Congratulations. How do you feel?
I got an A.
We have heard the chimes at midnight, Master Robert.
You're an inanimate fucking object! You told I'm coming! And hell's coming with me, you hear? Who the fuck has the goddamn gall to call his house on a Tuesday night? God!
Can't hear shit.
Nope.
You'll get the audio. You'll understand, and those who have seen one of the three movies tonight will understand later as well. Welcome to the 3 for 3 podcast. I'm Samuel Holler. I'm joined by two marvelous folks, Jackson Workman and Matthew Patterson. I want y'all to sit back and think about why we're here today. What I say about this episode of the podcast is the law, and we are starting with Hoosiers. Hoosiers. I don't know how to pronounce that, but fucking yeah, we're starting. And we're not going to finish until we win that championship, until we are the number one segregated school in Indiana, okay? I just want y'all to know that now. We are the top just because we are underfunded, just because we don't have the supplies. We are marginalized.
And we hired an alcoholic.
And we hired an alcoholic and a dude who beat up a kid, okay? A dude who beat up a kid. We're gonna win.
That's the dream team right there.
We're gonna win. Either of y'all want a little snort?
I'll take some.
I'll take a lot.
Take it away, Jackson. I don't know how you feel about this episode. I got my opinions, but I will save them.
Okay, well, thank you for that lively introduction. Yes, Hoosiers was my pick.
Oh, sorry, I gotta pull out the Man of Steel cup for my drink to celebrate the life of a man.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yeah, so Hoosiers, I picked Hoosiers, of course, the classic sports drama, because of the recent death of the one and only fucking legend, Gene Hackman. Rest in fucking peace. And Sam is honoring him by having his Superman glass there, because he was, of course, Lex Luthor. But yeah, so basic premise of this one is, if you will, picture this. You got me saying that every time now. You're Gene Hackman. It's the 1950s. It's 1951. And you're Gene Hackman. You're a former college basketball coach. And you were the best at what you did. But then you fucked up and you punched one of your students. And you got suspended from ever coaching college basketball ever again. And so then after that, you left coaching behind and you joined the Navy for 10 years. And now you're out of the Navy and you're 50. And your old friend says, hey, you want to coach basketball again? Come to this little town in the middle of Indiana called Hickory. And you can coach the high school.
Hickory.
So,
but not Indiana Hickory. Shout out Hickory, but North Carolina Hickory.
Yeah, I'm glad you thought of that as well. I was like, hey, that reminds me of our Hickory, but the one true Hickory. No offense to
exactly the only Hickory that matters.
But
I'd smoked.
Exactly. But yeah. So you come to this town, and it's a teeny tiny little town that no one ever leaves or comes to unless they're running from something. And yeah, the townspeople are a bunch of assholes, really, is what it is. And they immediately greet Gene Hackman with hostility because to them, their high school basketball team is everything. It's the most important thing, and it's where they put all their pride into. And they don't like the idea of some fucking outsider who's been on the water for 10 years fucking coaching their team. And they do everything they can to try to get him kicked out, but he refuses to bow down to the pressure. And he says, I'm going to coach these boys, and I'm going to coach them right if it's the last thing I do. And he meets Barbara Hershey, who's one of the teachers at the school, and he falls in love with her. And he meets Dennis Hopper, who's the local drunk. And also he plays one in the movie. Yes, this is the second 1986 film starring Dennis Hopper in a supporting role that we have talked about on this podcast.
This
Uh,
one he won an Academy Award, I think,
he
or
was
got nominated.
nominated.
Nominated. Nominated.
He should have been nominated for the other one, but he's also very good in this. But and just
Mhm.
like when we talked about Blue Velvet, I had to get my joke about him in there as well. So now I've done it for both. But yes, he plays the local drunk who becomes he's a basketball expert, and he becomes the assistant coach. And yeah, there's all kinds. It's very inspiring. It's considered one of, if not the greatest sports movie of all time by a lot of people. And it's funny because my this was a big deal watching this for me. I picked it because, of course, Gene Hackman just died, and I wanted to pick one of his movies for the podcast. But also, this movie has very special significance to me. This is my dad's all-time favorite movie. So I spent my entire life growing up listening to him talk about this movie nonstop, but I'd never seen it. So this was a big deal finally watching it. I was like, oh boy, I'm finally going to watch Hoosiers. This is going to be a big deal. So that's where the significance of it comes in for me. I was like, what the fuck,
Did you
finally?
see what he was talking about? Like, did you agree with it
Yeah,
or
'cause
no?
Oh yeah, no, I loved it. I loved it. I
Okay.
thought it was a fantastic movie. Yeah, I can see why it's such a beloved classic and why he loves it so much and why everybody loves it so much. Because like I said, it's considered by a lot of people. I mean, more than just about any other movie. This is like I've heard people say this is like the greatest sports movie of all time. One of, if not the greatest, you know. And I wouldn't go that far to say it's like the greatest, but it's up there. It's definitely, I think a fantastic movie for sure.
I really enjoyed it. I felt like it lived up to the hype that I had heard because like I'd kind of seen it before on TV, but I never really paid attention to it. So it was nice kind of sitting down and just seeing it all the way through.
Hmm.
Um, I did not remember Dennis Hopper being in it at all. So that was a great surprise when he just walks in and I'm like, the fuck? He's in this movie? But yeah, I really enjoyed it. So many white dudes playing basketball. Apparently,
Yeah.
this is the land of Larry Bird. So,
Indiana in the 50s, man. Yeah. It's funny because yeah, I noticed that at the end during the final match, that was the first time there were any black players in any of the teams. I was
that's
like,
what
oh shit, they may not be able to win this one. They're actually playing against I was like, they might actually lose this game.
apparently
it gets really
segregation
close because of
paid
that
off with
reason.
this one.
So
Huh?
what?
Apparently segregation paid off with this one.
Yeah, apparently. But hey, they proved themselves though in the end. They did get him. So I'm just
Yeah.
like, all right, it wasn't just they were at an advantage, they actually are really good. So
This movie bored me to tears, and I am sorry, Jackson,
No, I'm
but
surprised you're bored. Like, I thought you
I
were mad about
I'm
it for a
starting to
reason.
wonder if you're intentionally trying to just like
I was thinking this as well. I genuinely, before we started recording, I was like, Jackson, this is the like fourth out of five the
because
last week where I have not enjoyed your movie.
we talked not long ago about playing like made a joke about playing up the drama and arguing more. And I'm just like, is that what Sam's trying to do recently? Because it's very rare for you to not like anything. And the fact that you've like disliked like three of my last four movies, like I'm just like, what's going
It
on?
really upset me. And the thing at the I was like, okay, this it makes sense. It's 1951, Indiana. I assume that there's not very many black people. So if segregation is still a big thing there, that's why we don't see them. And then they bring in the other team at the very end, which is majority. And so I'm like, what are the rules here? I need to know because fuck this shit. But I really got into Dennis Hopper's character, and felt so bad for him, and I wanted him to succeed. And when he walked out on that court drunk as a fucking skunk, I felt so horrible.
Yeah, that was you kind of had a feeling a scene like that was going to happen eventually, but I didn't know when it was coming or how it was going to happen. So yeah, it was like right after he had had the big moment where he led them to, win that one game. So you're like, ah man, like right after he had his big moment, he kind of
Celebrated.
falls apart. But say what?
That he celebrated.
Yeah, he was celebrating. He was, but yeah, as far as the issue of the teams go, I mean, it's obvious that this little town, obviously it's like 1950s Indiana, I'm sure there are plenty of towns like that where there's not a single, non-white person in sight. Whereas later on, when they get to the big city, Indianapolis, that's when, it's more diverse because that's the big, city where there would be more people. But yeah, no, it makes total sense to me that this little town would only have, but so that wasn't really, I mean, an issue, but and of course segregation, like in the school, I'm sure there aren't any, non-white people allowed in that school because, they wouldn't be at that time. But either way, it again, to me, what the strengths of the movie, for one thing, I mean, it's I mean, it does all the things that every good sports movie is supposed to do, where, it gets you invested in the coach, it gets you invested in the team, it gets you invested in them winning. It has great scenes of them playing. It has great scenes of, and it's the underdog story that you know how to root for. But I think one of the things that really works about it is, first of all, I mean, Gene Hackman is like the glue that holds the thing together because his character and his performance are just like what makes it as compelling as it is because for starters, he's just great in it. That's one of his best performances I've ever seen, I would
Plays
say.
himself. So
Say what?
plays himself in many degrees.
I guess so, but not quite
Bullheaded and sticking his dick in everything he can.
as Yeah, well, in Barbara Hershey certainly, but yeah, it what was I gonna say? Oh, but yeah, he for sure his performance is great, but also his character like there's so many scenes early in the movie where, you know, like right off the bat, you really get a sense of like who he is. And then I like how they gradually reveal more and more about him. Like once you learn about the thing with the student, you know, like a lot of stuff becomes more clear, like immediately. You're just like, okay, I see. That's why he's, it makes everything you've seen before so much more interesting because you're just like, okay, I see now why he's taking the more gentle approach. Like, I see now why it's important to him to make this work because he wants to prove to himself, A, that he can still coach, and B, that he can, like, actually, be a good mentor to these kids without, like, losing his temper and everything. And that, like, it makes sense why he's treating Jimmy the way that he is because it's like, I've been in this position before where I would have just busted this kid's balls and tried everything I could do to get him to play ball again because all I cared about was winning. And, now I'm just going to take the more compassionate, just like, yeah, okay, no, if you want to play, fine. If you don't want to play, whatever, like, and then again, I love the scenes where early on you see like that great scene where he stands up for himself against the dickhead other coach, who's there, who's like, well, we don't do it this way. He's like, I'm the fucking coach, like we're gonna do this my way. Get the fuck out. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Like he's able to you identify with him immediately because you see how he's able to stand up for himself and be assertive, but then and then like also be assertive with the students when there's that one dickhead kid who's just kind of like talking shit, doesn't want to be there and all that, but then also be compassionate when he needs to be. And again, it's just like, you know, because I wasn't sure how it was going to go at first. I was like, is it going to be like something more like Miracle, where he's just the really kind of ruthless, aggressive coach who pushes his players but has their best interests at heart? Or is it going to be he's the more compassionate coach? And they went more in that direction, but also he could be, firm when he needed to be. And again, that's what gets you in is just like, all right, you're kind of like the players. You're with him. You're just like, all right, like I don't really know who this guy is yet, but I kind of want to follow him, and he inspires me to want to see them win. Basically.
Made me think a lot of the way back, and because Dennis Hopper character is literally Ben Affleck's character to almost like it's a combination of Gene Hackman and Dennis Hopper is Ben Affleck's character in that. And I think that's just the story I wanted from it. I wanted something that wasn't the formulaic. They're gonna struggle at first. Oh, you think they're gonna win, but then they have that moment where things start to go wrong again. Are they gonna win? Of course they win. And what upset me was the music, because the music did not get me into them playing basketball at all, and I could not find a moment where I was like gung ho about them doing this. And I think it was because I just did not care about the music at all, and that's what really upset me. There was not a theme that I could like remember the whole time.
That's
And
so wild that I really thought the music was one of the highlights of the movie. I
wow,
thought like Jerry Goldsmith, that's one of my favorite scores he's ever
I love
done.
Jerry Goldsmith
I,
for sure.
as soon as I saw his name in the credit, because immediately from the credits, the music grabbed me. And then I saw his name, I was like, oh, well, there you go. Okay. And then the whole time, I really thought it was one of his best scores. Like, really, just the whole way through, really set the mood and, gave you that like very sentimental, optimistic feel at points. And just especially during the games, like, really got you going. And, I really thought that that was one of the highlights. But, yeah, it also just again the moments that it's funny because there are moments where it's like very well written, like you can tell they put a lot of effort into a lot of the scenes with dialogue, but then there are also points where again you can see they're going for a more natural approach, less Hollywood sounding. And I like the combination of those two things because one of the things that works the best about it to me is like in that final game, to me, it defies a lot of the conventions of the typical sports movie, where usually in the final game they make it more of a struggle. And they do somewhat here, but they try to throw in all this like manufactured drama that maybe didn't exist in the real life game, but because it's a movie, they want to make it more dramatic. But I like here they don't really like there's a little bit of that, but they do it in a way where it doesn't feel Hollywood. It feels more real. Like they just kind of play the game. They're not doing great at first. They turn it around. The kid makes the final shot, and it's not done in like I don't know, like there's I'm pretty sure Angelo Pizzo, who wrote the movie, was like I don't know if he was a sports journalist or a sports writer or what he was, but I'm pretty sure that was like his background, and this was like his first screenplay he ever wrote. I could be wrong, but and that makes sense because again, he's writing it less like a screenwriter and more like a just I understand the game of basketball and I want to kind of make this more true to life and true to the game and true to like what an actual game would be like. And
Yeah.
again, I love the combination of the sensibilities of like we are going to make it dramatic to a point, but not too much. And again, that to me was like I guess I can see why so many sports fans in particular love the movie. I would assume that's one of the reasons why they because again it's like that because they do have the moment again where they're like they all huddle up and they're just like, all right, we got a little bit left on the clock, like what are we gonna do? And he says, I'll make it, I'll make the shot. And that's like the moment of dramatic tension where you don't know whether he's gonna get it, or the moment where the little guy, that was one of my favorite moments of the movie, where the little guy makes the two shots and wins the semifinals game when you don't think he's gonna be able to do it. And I don't know, I thought it was a good combination of those sensibilities. And again, Hackman as the main character is so fascinating throughout the whole thing. You really want him to succeed here, especially again, like to me, like I just was so invested in him proving the townspeople wrong and him really like because again, and one of the best things again is for so much of the movie, the main kid who everybody reveres as the town hero isn't on the team. And I really like the idea of that was a great scene to me where, they're at the rally and everybody in the audience is like, we want Jimmy. And he's just like, this is your team,
Yeah,
like respect us for who we are, not for who we're not. And,
he doesn't
yeah,
he doesn't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game. In his book, they're all winners.
that's right. But again,
Something
yeah,
that
yeah.
really kind of helped with the watching is I don't know if you can see the texture of my copy of this, but it has the like basketball texture, and then on the back it has the little air pump,
Oh, that's cool.
and so that I was like rubbing the basketball the whole. It was like, oh, I'm playing kind of thing.
Made you feel like you
You
were
just
on the
gotta like
court.
throw it at the TV.
Exactly, just throw my DVD.
Um, but yeah, just and again that moment where he says like the fact that these young men are willing to get out here and put themselves on the line 23 nights, in the next few months, like that deserves your respect. Like I really
How
love
about
that moment
why
where
not
he
24?
say what?
What's wrong with 24?
Or maybe I don't remember what the number was, but
No, no, that was just like just being funny. It's like 23 nights out of the week, you know?
Mhm.
It's like, oh, that's not that bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
But
25.
go up to it, round up to an even 30.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. But I think that again, like moments like that are what, really won me over. One of the main things, just seeing him stand up for the team and, refuse to bow down to like there's that moment where he says, after what Jimmy did last night at the town hall thing, it would take the Indiana National Guard to get me out of here. Like, like it doesn't matter what he is up against, he's willing to take them all the way, and again, just I don't know, just great moments like him saying like this is a team effort, like 5 points of the same, stop thinking individually and all that. Like I don't know. It makes sense to me why again it's got that feeling of like I don't know, you can feel like the guy who wrote it really understands the game and really just wanted to I don't know, get that love for it across. Like it was made
Loves
with passion all the way through.
Angelo is pro sports.
Pro
He
sport.
assists Rudy, the Miles Teller boxing movie. Oh, I don't remember the name of that one.
He wrote
Uh,
that? I didn't know that. I knew he wrote Rudy, but I didn't know he wrote the Miles Teller one. Really?
yeah, and I think it. So there's some sort of like other football movie other than Rudy that he also was heavily involved in. He
Interesting.
just loves
Iron
sports.
Gang.
Yeah, I know he was mainly like all
The
the movies
Gridiron Gang.
are sports
Yeah, I
movies.
was asking.
Say what?
I said Gridiron Gang. I don't know, just throwing that one out there. And another football movie.
I know it involves Aaron Eckhart, but I can't remember the name. And it's
Mm,
not that one with the plane crash that's Matthew McConaughey.
Well,
that's
now I
fair.
gotta look this up. Now you got me all curious.
Angelo Pizzo, Pizzo.
Yeah.
Got the recipe. He got the pizzo.
Yeah, it's funny because the director, David Onspog, also directed Rudy, so same team pretty much.
That's interesting.
And this was his very first movie, both of them. So
That's
They're the
great.
same.
The writing and the directing, then.
let's see.
Directing, I thought was
The
really good.
Game of Their Lives.
Yeah.
He
Oh no,
was,
no, I'm thinking of something else. I
which
just looked
had
up.
Gerard Butler in it.
I can see where you.
Okay, the one with Aaron Eckhart was called My All American.
That's what I'm thinking of.
I've never heard of Oh, I do remember when that came out. Oh my God. I was about to say I've never heard of it before, but yeah, no, I vaguely remember when that came out. Wow. That was a
And I
long time
definitely
ago.
remember Bleed for this because that movie, I was like, I am not gonna go see that movie.
No, that was for me. I was like, I'm definitely going to go see that. And then I
Oh,
heard it
did you
wasn't
like
any.
it?
Then it wasn't. I heard it wasn't any good, so I never did. But I
Okay, I haven't
remember
seen
thinking
it.
the trailer
I,
looked really good. But yeah. So he's clearly got a knack for writing sports movies, which I knew, but I didn't know anything he had done other than this and Rudy. But and it's funny because Sam, do you know who at one time agreed with you?
Who?
Gene Hackman. Uh, famously, he when he
Oh, I do not want to be associated with him right now.
famously he what was I gonna say? Oh, he did not like the movie when they were making it.
Hmm.
He was like very difficult. He was constantly talking shit and saying it wasn't gonna be anything. There's a shot in the movie during the montage when they're winning all the games where he says something to Dennis Hopper and Dennis Hopper laughs. And apparently the reason he laughed was because Gene Hackman said to him, I hope you saved your money, Dennis, because we'll never work again after this comes out. So he was not having it for most of the time. And I've heard the director David Onspog talk about how he nearly gave him a panic attack when they were doing the movie because it was his first movie and he was very overwhelmed already and he was nervous that it was gonna tank because Gene kept saying so. But then once they saw the actual first cut of the movie, um, Gene was like, I read, he said, when the first cut was screened after it was over, he went to the director and said, how the fuck did you do that? Like basically saying, like, what the fuck, it's good? I was,
Save this piece of shit.
Yeah, he was like, okay. Then at that point, he was like, okay, I think this might be a good movie. And he said, the director did that, for years and years afterwards, Hackman was very surprised whenever he said he got more people come up to him about this movie than any other movie he'd ever done. And he said it surprised the shit out of him just because he was making it, he really didn't think it was going to be anything. So,
I mean,
and
small areas of America will fucking gravitate towards some sports movies. I'll tell you that much.
And I'm telling you, I mean, I know not just because my dad is such a big fan, but in general, I've seen, I mean, anyone who knows about this movie knows. I mean, sports fans in particular, this is like, I mean, you know, it's considered the greatest sports movie ever by like a lot of sports fans. So, it
I think I went into it with some bad juju because I really thought you picked the Paul Newman hockey movie.
oh,
But I thought Paul Newman was Gene Hackman in that movie up until this week when I went to pick up this DVD and I saw the basketball texture and I looked it up and I was like, oh, I'm thinking of Slapshot. God damn.
well, yeah, that's a bit of
And I
a
was wanting a completely different movie and getting this small town drama about this dude trying to repiece his life together was not what I was wanting whatsoever. And so I think I went into it with a bit of a what's the word or
bias.
term?
Bad taste.
Well, I was thinking w- tripping over one foot in front of the other, but
Tripping.
yeah, I be tripping,
You
okay? I be tripping. And I
you be
dribbling this ball
you be
when I
tri you be tripping, you be dribbling, you be doing all kinds of things, Sam. First
Tripping.
it was Wallace and Gromit,
hey,
and
I'm
now
I'm with the
Hoosiers.
I'm with the town on Wallace and Gromit. I'm with the town on this movie. Something's telling me that I
You just
could
gotta
go
pick a
with
big
the
city
town.
movie, Jackson.
I
He's
think
the big
I'd
city.
be the one to tear them down
I
and
think
remove them from
Sam
my city.
So I think what we're getting here is Sam has a mob mentality. Anytime you see, I bet if you watch Frankenstein, you'd be on the side of the town in that as well.
When I was watching Fate of the Opera the other day, I was like, kill his ass.
But yeah, no, I mean that's sometimes you don't always get what you think you're gonna get. I would though. I mean, obviously not anytime soon since you just saw it, but maybe in the future, just like
I'll definitely rewatch it. I mean, I have it now, so
yeah, because I think again, like for me, because I also, to a degree, I was going in kind of with, all this shit placed on it,
I
having
wanted
heard
it to be
about it over the
Chariots of
years.
Fire. It was not Chariots of Fire or Rocky for me.
Yeah, again, it's because again, what I love about it is it does follow so many of the typical sports conventions in a lot of ways. But to me, it's different in the sense that like I don't know, it's not as over dramatized as a lot of sports movies are. It's not something like Remember the Titans, which is like, great movie, but like very Hollywoodized version of where like none of the real a lot of times in sports movies, like it didn't really go down that way and they just kind of over dramatize it. So I like how again they follow that formula here, but again, it feels realistic. Like they don't make the game more dramatic than it was in real life. They show it the way it happened, because I do believe this is based on a true story, and even if it's not, it's just like the fact that they make the game so realistic, you can just tell it was made by people who love the game. And again, like I don't know, like I thought the characters, I thought again, and I haven't even mentioned Barbara Hershey yet, really. She was one of the best parts of the movie to me.
Hey,
I loved her
shirt,
character. Say what?
shirt.
Oh yeah, there you go. There you go. I'm repping Barbara Hershey here.
Yep.
But no, who's just one of the most dependable actresses. I mean, she's always just great in everything she's in. And this, I would say, is probably my favorite performance I've ever seen from her. She was really a standout in this, and I really love the scenes with her and Gene Hackman. I love the scene where she's just like, talking about how she tried to leave town and she had to come back, and she's like, one thing I missed was things staying people's business or whatever. And that line she has early in the movie, that fucking hit. I was like, damn, where she goes, they're talking about the kid, Jimmy, and she says to him, just stay away from him, okay? I don't want him to be teaching high school basketball here when he's 50. I was just like, fuck. Like, what a bitchy thing to say. That's so mean. But that whole scene again, just like, most people would kill to be treated like a god just for a few minutes, and just that whole conversation, that was some of the best writing in the movie to me. I just thought, again, love those moments of where they really let the dialogue hit, and again, I really love again, just yeah, so many great scenes. Like the scene in the town hall meeting was great. The scene where again, the scene where they go to the big Indianapolis stadium, and just like that moment where they take the moment to just like look around. And
I really did appreciate that scene where he was like, he measured it and it was the exact same measurements of their home court. And I was like, okay, I
like
can get
again, you get so attached because he does all these things to make them, like, he pushes them, but he makes them feel comfortable. Like he lets them know that he's there for them. And it's just like you just he endears himself to you so much. And yeah, just measuring the stadium, and just the scene of them just taking a moment to look around, and they're in shock, like they've never seen a room that big before in their lives. And it's just, I appreciated the little moments like that, and I appreciated, again, like moments where and again, like what I mean, like when I say they don't follow the conventions all the way. Every sports movie, it is a law that before the final game, the coach has to give a big speech. And he doesn't here. He just says, like, I think we're past speeches. I just want you to know, I love you guys. Like, thank you for the last few months. Like, just real. It's just like real, honest shit. Like, he's not giving. It would have been fine if he did give a big speech. There wouldn't have been anything wrong with that. But I appreciate the fact that they don't feel like they have to do that. They have to follow that formula. And it's just real. And then just the kid saying, like, let's do this for, all the small town teams that could never make it, like, that's just, again, it's very real and honest and just true to the spirit of like what it's trying to be, which is like this ode to like these small town teams like this.
I
So
do want to shout out Steve Holler. He was one of
yeah.
who was one on the team, and I was like, represent the Hollers,
A holler
It's the
name.
relative.
Holler name.
But yeah, so I guess just to sum up, definitely a great movie. I would definitely, include it among the greatest sports movies of all time. I wouldn't put it at the very top like a lot of people would, but it's up there for sure. I really, again, appreciated just really, again, just what it was trying to do and the characters, and um just Hackman was, rest in peace. He just really was so great in this, and um yeah, just ripped to a legend. And he really, again, because he's the backbone of the movie, and it doesn't work if he doesn't give that great, committed, compassionate, but intense performance. And one more thing, that scene where he's yelling at the ref trying to get himself ejected from the game fucking killed me. Where he's just like, now don't fucking, confront him. No, 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 I'm just gonna talk to him. I'm just gonna talk to him. Do you have pigeon shit in your eyes? You're a disgrace to your fucking profession. I was like, oh man, that
I did
was
like the moment too where he ran up to the referee and the referee was like, yeah, everything's fine. And then the second he stepped over that line, he just like, and you're out of here.
yeah.
That was
Yeah. And
hype.
again, I love those details, just like, again, of the hometown refs just being super biased. Like, again, that made it feel more real. And yeah, great movie, I'd say. But
Yeah.
Well, I must say this is another we have another movie on the cast today that generally, and I would hope amongst the three of us, is a really good movie within its genre because we have certainly shown movies within its genre that are absolute fucking horse trash. And we take a visit to Paris. Oui, going to
Oh,
see Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
sure, boo. But yeah, so I want to say before I completely go into this, I want to say before I want to speak too soon, but I think this is going to be the first musical we've picked on this podcast that we all like and agree that we like. I don't know if there's one that we've not a little bit shit on, if not mostly shit on.
what musicals have we done besides Amelia Perez?
Nine.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, we
Oh,
have a bad musical track record on this
So
show.
I think I was watching this and I was like, I hope this is going to change that. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. So yes,
man, fucking tastic.
um,
Pardon my French.
oh yes. So picture this. There we go. I'll use Sam's this time. You're in Paris, France, in the 50s. Uh, it is a vibrant, beautiful place. Everything is good. You are in fucking love with this girl named Genevieve, and your name is Guy. Guy. And you are a mechanic, and you are happily in love. And you are singing every day. Every day is a song. They literally, they sing the whole movie. Um, and then, alas, war happens, and you are taken away from your lover who you have pledged your love to, and you guys have sex right before you're taken off to war. And during that time, it gets really depressing because her mom clearly was struggling earlier in the movie. But goddamn, uh, isn't that what's her name? Sorry, Madame Emery. If she isn't struggling later on, even worse.
Your damn memory, my damn memory.
But you gotta add that. Oh man. And you are forced to kind of have to give up on your lover, who you find out you are pregnant with his child with, because he is not responding as much and you don't know what's going on. And there is this other man, Roland Cassard, who is a wealthy jeweler who just wants to sweep her off her feet and take her away. And after a whole bunch of mulling over, she decides to go with him, only for Guy to come back from the war. You come back and you find your lover gone, married to some rich dude, and you are fucked up about it.
It'd be that way
Uh,
sometimes.
and you go and you fuck a prostitute,
You with it.
and you realize after that, hmm,
Was she a prostitute?
I don't know. I thought she was.
I don't think she was a prostitute.
I was like pretty sure.
Stripper or like a burlesque kind of like dancer.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It wasn't just some random person.
Thought it was like just his friend or something. I didn't get any indication that she was any kind of sex worker at
French are
the
just
time.
really friendly.
I thought
No,
she was just like his friend who hung out around his place. I mean, like that.
That's why she lived right above the bar where all of them were working, is so they could take
yeah.
me up there to.
I think I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure it was a prostitute. But even though, like,
That's just
She's
the
well, hold
I
on.
know.
She's not the one he sleeps with in the bar, is she?
From the bar at the very end.
That's no, because she knew him before then. Yeah.
I was just talking about the person at the very
Oh,
end
I
who.
thought you were talking about the girl he marries. I'm sorry, ignore me.
No, because then no, he
no,
fucks
no.
her for no. That's Matt. That's yeah. He was gonna say
I was like,
first
she was not a prostitute.
he has to go have
Madeline was not. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, okay.
finally realize that he's gonna settle for his upstairs neighbor, pretty much.
Okay, I forgot
Madeline.
about that scene.
Sorry.
You're right. He does sleep with the prostitute in the bar. That's right. Yes.
Yes. And he has to settle for his upstairs neighbor, Madeline, who loved him the whole time.
Took care of his fucking aunt.
She did.
We got our aunts, we got our uncles. We'll see which is better.
She reminded me
But not
of,
your 13th aunt.
I can't remember her name, but she reminds me of the girl who gives Tobey Maguire cookies in Spider-Man 3. That's who she reminded me of.
A little bit.
And
yeah.
he was that guy, but or Toby, but
A little bit.
so he settles for her. They settle down, and she is consistently worried he's gonna give up their life, and he doesn't. He just opens up a gas station, and at the very last scene,
He didn't just open up a gas station. He did what he was wanting to do with like the oil and
that is fair. He did, yes.
getting his shit
He
going.
followed his dreams.
Unlike Daniel Day-Lewis, he didn't beat anyone to death with a bowling pin to get his deal.
True.
So there you go.
Went to the Americans.
That's the American dream. This is the French dream.
The French American dream.
There you go.
But yes, so his wife comes back, or the girl comes back, and he runs into her. She's super wealthy, but possibly not super happy with her life. We don't know. And
Miserable.
yeah, miserable.
It's looked miserable. Sorry.
And my favorite part is when she asks, "Do you want to see my daughter?" Which is our daughter, but he doesn't know that, and he's like, "Nope, I'm good."
Why
And
would
she
he
gets in the
though?
car. Yeah, I mean, why would he? I just love that. I just thought that was great. Like, I
This
don't know.
would pull him out of his life that he has.
Yeah, and then so she leaves, and they're just playing in the snow. Low key a Christmas ending. But I
It is
love the movie.
Christmas
I
movie.
love the fact they just sang along the dialogue and didn't try to split that up. Goddamn, the camera work is genius. The colors are fucking beautiful.
Really reminded me of John Waters quite a bit.
I could see that. Yeah. I love the opening shot with the umbrellas, of course, but then like there are just shots that like where the camera will just move through the room and like back and forth and like perfectly just hit things, and I'm like, yes. Uh, and this is apparently the third or the second in a trilogy of romance movies that involved the same characters. So the guy who played Roland, or that character as well, was in the first one, which was Lola, and then the third is like I can't remember the name of the third off the top of my head,
Young Girls of Rochefort,
something like that. Yeah.
what I want to say.
Yeah, and so I did not know that it was the in between, and I didn't really need to know that because it doesn't affect the story at all. But yeah, I was fucking with it a lot. It was a lot more upbeat than I thought it was going to be, even though it's depressing. But I thought it was going to be a lot more like, well, you know. But I really enjoyed it. What did you guys think? I didn't. Or one last thing is I didn't really look into it, so I didn't expect it to be a musical when it started, and then I had to look it up and be like, oh shit. Uh,
I was kind of mad at first when they started singing. I was like, and then,
Dan was just out for blood last night, I guess. He was
but
ready to attack
he
also
was
everybody.
ready to go off.
I was a little mad because they like hyped up the restoration of the sound and everything, and the first opening number sounds like it was sang inside of a tin can, and I was like,
You didn't restore them
ah.
well.
But Catherine, Deneuve, or however she's pronounced, she is one of the best actresses I've ever seen. She is so good in this movie, and the characters and her mother is really fucking horrible, and I loved her mother. But her mother is I wanted her mother to like eat her fucking words, and then she ended up dying before like getting any kind of like closure with Nino being a successful man and like being able to provide for a family, so that kind of upset me. But I fucking love this movie. This movie is so good. Every ounce of this movie I love, especially the score. This was one where the music just didn't have a single moment where I was not like physically moving internally because the music just had me so happy. But the plot was so sad, and I was just like, I want a cigarette just because these people are so stressed. I need someone to relieve the tension amongst everything. And Jacques Demy, this is my second movie with him. Donkey Skin was my first, which is a reunion of like his editor, the composer, Catherine comes back for that too, and I love that movie too, and I really need to just start exploring his work because his movies just I connect with them quite a bit. Fuck Algeria.
Now we got them coming after us.
Yeah, exactly.
Next, after this, after last week's episode, which hasn't aired yet at this point, uh, we're gonna have Russia coming after us. So now we're pissing off everybody. Um, but
Form our own
yeah.
UN called
So
FU.
say what?
So we're gonna form our own UN called FU, and we just go through the list of pissing people off.
We got to get diplomatic immunity somehow, so we'll be safe. Um, but yeah, so as Matt mentioned earlier, we have, I guess, now that you mention it, a very shitty track record for musicals on this show. The two that we've covered so far were both appalling. So I'm very glad that we picked
Technically
one.
three. Sorry to cut you off, but if you consider watching for the weekend, you would say three.
If we count the old show, then
I
yeah,
would say two. You would say three.
yeah. If
What is the movie you're talking? Oh, Moulin Rouge.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We have a
Just just
long
putting
standing track record with
just putting
musicals.
it was a situation where Sam, you were defending an indefensible situation, and God bless you, but it because that movie is objectively a piece of shit. But you did your best to defend an indefensible movie. But but for those of you out there who are not familiar with the original podcast we tried to do a few years ago, Watching for the Weekend, that channel's still up, so you can go. I would encourage you because that. I know I will never do anything as I'll never make a case as well as I made the case for why that movie's a piece of shit. And the argument between me and Sam on that one was pretty legendary. So, but yeah, just for this show, for this iteration, yeah, we had nine. We had Emilia Perez, both of which were dog shit movies. So I'm glad, Matt, that you finally picked a musical that was so fucking outstanding because yes, I'm glad we all three enjoyed it because yes, this is kind of the, you know, our way of making up for Emilia Perez, I guess.
I didn't even know it was a musical. Like I said, until it started, I went, "What the fuck?" I
That's
didn't
the
even look
only
it up.
thing I knew about it was that it was a music. I didn't know anything about the story or anything. I just knew it was a music. But what I didn't know was that the entire thing was singing, like every line in the movie. I didn't know that. So when they started with that, I was like, "Oh shit, is this how this is going to be?" Okay. And I liked, oh my God, like first of all, I love the movie. I thought it was great. And really by the end, because I was really vibing with it at first, but I didn't like love it at first. I was just vibing with it a lot. And then, man, by the time we got to the fucking end, I was like, damn, what a great movie. Like, that really moved me. That was really, I mean, the whole way through, I just thought it was such a great story. I mean, like, first of all, I love how, again, at the beginning, they put so much emphasis on how heartbreaking it is that they're having to split up. Like the part at the end where they realize he's got to leave and they got to say goodbye to each other. It went on way longer than I was expecting, and I was glad because I really wanted them to, you know, I appreciated that they really hit home just how heartbreaking this was and taking you through all the steps of them having to come to terms with the fact that they were going to be apart for 2 years. And the end of part one where, they're saying goodbye to each other at the train station, I thought was so effective. And you're just like, oh man, I fucking hate that this is like having to happen. Yeah, fuck Algeria for doing this to them. Just, and then the whole second part, really, he's out of the whole second part, and it's just about her and the mom. And
It's our first of two movies tonight that was told in chapters.
yes, indeed. And in three different parts. But yeah, it that part was great. The mom, yeah, like you said, Sam, you hate the mom so much at points because like she's being so unreasonable, and she's being so just like disapproving of their relationship and so concerned with like marrying the rich guy. But at the same time, like I don't know, you are kind of endeared to her in a way. Like I was sort of endeared to her in a way almost because I really liked her character. I really liked the actress. I really liked, and I respected that she was like, I made a bad choice when I was younger and I regretted it, and I don't want you to go through the same thing. But to have a callback to a few episodes ago, baby snatching be just as real in France as it be in China, yo. Rich motherfuckers with pencil mustaches stealing other people's babies and shit. Never trust a man named Roland. That's the moral of the story. Never trust a diamond seller named Roland who, has a
Well,
fucking pencil mustache and shit and a fucking cane or whatever he's got.
I
Because
think where I
they'll
got
steal your
really
baby.
that's where I really got into the story was when her song where she was like, I can't sell my jewelry. Who am I without my jewelry? And then she starts to question it and then goes back to her jewelry and then she goes to even look at it and then is like, well, I don't need this. This is ugly. And then when we got to the scene where she was selling stuff off to like pretty much just it was kind of selfish reasons to like preserve their presence within society, but I think also her daughter's happiness and her daughter being able to support this was the ultimate goal for her, and that's why she forced her to marry and forced her to do all these kind of things because she wanted her daughter to live this better life. And so her willing to lose her most valuable possessions, which is kind of also messed up that her daughter wasn't initially on her first thought, but then became her most valuable possession. Um, and to still also give that away was very moving.
Yeah, and I think again that stuff like that is kind of what, even though she's kind of annoying at points, like it's stuff like that that kind of endears you to her because you're like, you understand she's just being practical. She's trying to. I was honestly more mad at Genevieve for actually going with the guy because they make it so clear for so much of it that she isn't considering going with Roland. And then when she finally says like I'm considering it, I was like, "What? Like are you fucking kidding me?" Like
One of the last things she told Guy was that I will never marry unless it's you.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, man, these
Not
hoes
when
are
I'm
loyal,
broke.
that's for sure. But it was just it was upsetting. It was upsetting because I was just
Oh,
like, what were you gonna say, Matt?
said money talks.
Money box.
Now when you're broke,
Yeah,
I'm
but
loyal, but a jeweler is a jeweler.
yeah. But I'm just like, man, I was like, man, never go off to war, man. You better hope you never get drafted or go to war. Your wife will straight up just
Moral of the story: war sucks.
indeed.
War sucks.
War, what is it good for? But yeah,
And
that
this will go into Rush Hour 3, which is my next pick. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, but I really thought that that was like I was very, very surprised that it actually went not even like I could have seen maybe her getting with him, but her actually marrying Roland and her like fully saying like yeah, because I was pissed at him because I was like, he was like, we'll raise this child together and it will be our child. I'm like, where do you get the fucking brass balls to steal somebody else's child? And Guy, though, I gotta say, didn't put up much of a fight because when he got back, I was like, you only seem mildly phased that your girlfriend has married some other guy and has taken your kid with them.
Well, after the horrors of war, Jackson,
He had
nothing.
other priorities. He had other priorities, I
He's
guess.
like, I killed children.
So why would I want to be with a child?
Yeah, like I have no soul. I
I
am.
was genuinely happy that he got to see his aunt again
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was so worried when
that
she
was
was
heartwarming.
like, that song that she sang to him. I also was very much like, I love musicals. They can be done right.
Yes, a French
Just
director
right.
who made a good musical. This
And
Jacques Demy is a credit to France, unlike Jacques Audiard.
He stayed within his reign. He stayed within his country.
Exactly. Yes,
exactly.
The good
Yeah.
Jacques versus the bad Jacques. But yeah, and again, the whole that last part to me was really when the whole thing just kind of solidified, where I was just like, oh wow, like I see what the story was all about. Because Sam, honestly, until you just said that a few minutes ago, I didn't even think of it that way. Where how impactful that is, like the fact that he did prove the mom wrong because she was like, he's just a mechanic, he's just a soldier, he can't give you a good life. And you see, he builds a great life for Madeline, and he
Mm.
has his own business, and they're doing well. And meanwhile, yeah, Genevieve doesn't seem to be doing really well. And I just love that final scene where she kind of seems like she has regrets a little bit, and she's just like, "Hey, so how you doing? You wanna come see?" He's just like, "Fuck you, bitch. I'm doing great. I'm doing fucking awesome." He's
Yep.
like, "Yeah, I'm doing absolutely fucking fantastic. I'm glad I never got with you. Fuck you." And she's like, "Do you want to come see our daughter? Like, she's just like, bitch. I got a son. I'm good. Get the fuck out
And
of
his
here."
How
son
the fuck
had
would
the
I want a daughter? I got a son.
Yeah, exactly. Did they send me daughters when I for sons? But
his
yeah,
son
I
was so
I was
cute in
like,
this
so the
movie.
shoe's on the other foot now, huh? Like, if she thought she was going to run off and be successful without him and was just going to leave him in the dust, and the exact opposite happened. And again, I love it because that's kind of the moral of the story, really, is like, if you marry for love and not for money or material things, then you win in the end. And that's what happened. I mean, she was just way too concerned with like, oh, my financial security and material shit and all this. And he was just like, I love that scene where he's sitting with Madeline outside at the cafe and he's just like, finally my dream of like, falling in love with a woman has come true. Like that's all he cares about, I mean, he cares about money too, but he's not going to let that lead him to make stupid decisions, and it's
So
just, yeah.
I know it's kind of an eye roll, but my only exposure to this movie was just hearing how much Damien Chazelle used it as inspiration for La La
I
Land,
didn't know until I read that afterwards.
and it just even makes more sense with like the character motivations in that, and especially in the third act where they kind of diverge and do their
Yeah, you
thing.
can see the clear inspiration for that
So,
movie here. I mean, obviously there are plenty of differences between the two, but you can definitely see where it came from. And Matt, to your point, the camera work in this is god tier, and just the cinematography and just it's so vibrant and colorful. And I remember thinking to myself, Jesus, for 1964, this is like amazing looking. I mean, it really just, I mean, looks fantastic. And I also like again, I know it's in France and they were able to do this kind of stuff at the time, but the innuendos and things that they were throwing in there too for 1964, where she's just like that line made me laugh. She's like, "How did this happen?" And she's like, "The normal way, I assure you, the way it usually happens." When she finds out she's pregnant, she's like, "Yeah, the normal way, I promise." I was like, "Ooh, salacious for the 60s," but I guess not for France. They were already doing that kind of
even
stuff.
down to like the man who is shopping for a black umbrella at the beginning, and she grabs that umbrella and holds it right in front of him in a certain position was very
I
like,
didn't even catch that.
oh, ooh. And I was so scared. She picked the wrong color anyway. It was a gray goddamn umbrella, not a black one. But I was like, she started scrolling through all the colors, and I was like, I swear to God, if you pick a fucking non-black umbrella, I'm gonna be like, you stupid. But no, she found at least something.
Yeah. It and yeah, just because again, it's weird that, because not only is it like, a bold choice to have them sing every line in the movie, but also when it's in a foreign language, again, there can be like a lot that's kind of lost in translation, and there just wasn't here. Again, like this is what, as if I didn't know already, it's obvious enough. Something like Amelia Perez, like you can't just, write it off on, oh, well, it's in another language, so of course it sounds stupid. No, the lyrics, the songwriting in that movie are just absolutely fucking terrible. Like there's no excuse for it. Because here again, it's like I didn't have that problem here. Nothing was lost in translation. They're singing, they're saying things that sound like they make sense, that don't sound stupid and cringe-inducing, but and it works. Again, like to me, it enhances it. Because if they were just, because in this case, because again with a musical, you got to justify it being a musical. Like there was no justification for that movie even being a musical. Like every time there was a song in that movie, it stopped it dead in its tracks and honestly just made it worse and dumber. And here, the fact that I'm imagining them saying all these lines instead of singing them, and it's not the same. Like it's better. It's more expressive and vibrant, and just you get more of a sense of the emotions because they're singing it rather than saying it. And that's like, okay, I see why they made this a musical. Like it works better that way. So it passes that test for sure.
I love the part where they're just like in the town and he's talking to her about having to go to war. And then it does that moment where it cuts to them sitting with the drink, and just the way the words sound are it's just fucking beautiful.
Yeah, I mean the musical element to this movie, Sam, like you kind of mentioned earlier, like it does get inside you and make you feel the emotions more, because again, like it's vibrant, it's expressive, it's like, they got to sing about it. They can't, like it's too, the emotions are too big, because that's what they say. That's like the thing that they always say. In musicals, like the justification for each song is the emotions are too big for them to just say it. They have to sing it. And I feel like they pass that test throughout the whole film. Like these emotions are too big for them to just say it. Like that's why they're singing the whole thing. So like, and it does get inside you, and it does like impact you differently than it would if it was just spoken. So yeah, and it's funny because this was my first also Catherine Deneuve movie ever.
Oh
I've
wow.
I've never seen any of her. She's always someone like I've known of, and I know she's like one of the most legendary French actresses ever, but I've never seen her in anything. So it was cool finally like seeing her in something. I'd like to see
Saw
more
her
with her.
at her youngest.
Say what?
Saw her at potentially her youngest.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that. I was like, wow, she's young as fuck in this. She looks like a kid. So I
She
was
was
like, this must have
19
been
when they
the
filmed that.
say
So
what?
she was 19 when they started filming it, turned 20 by the end.
Damn. Yeah, so like right at the beginning of her career.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'd like to now see more. I'd like to see more because I know she did more stuff with Jacques Demy. So, I'm like, I'd like to see
Donkey
more of their
Skin.
work together.
Gotta watch Donkey Skin.
Yeah, I've heard of that one. I don't know much about it, but I've heard of it. But yeah, just really. Just I don't know. You can tell there was a lot of passion and a lot of creativity that was put into this. You can tell. It's funny because I get the sense watching this that he must have been a fan of. Because it's funny when you read about it, you wouldn't think so, but it really is funny how much. Because the image you kind of have of like these old school foreign directors or just foreign directors in general is, they're kind of snooty about American movies, and they're kind of just like, oh yeah, the American Hollywood films, like we are the real European art films, but they love that. A lot of those directors really do have a genuine love for like classic Hollywood films. Like, I've read so much about how people like, Godard and Truffaut and all those guys and Fellini and all these guys, like they love all these old school American movies. And I get the sense here that this was probably a love letter to like, the old school like 50s Hollywood musicals because it feels a lot like, you know, that kind of movie. And
Mhm.
it's,
I enjoyed your review about Gene Kelly.
yeah, I want to just say Gene Kelly is a bitch ass motherfucker, and he wishes he could make something as good as this. That stupid piece of shit. Fucking, this is a million times better than any of his movies that I've ever
About
seen.
to lose a lot of followers.
Yeah, we probably will. We probably
A
will.
lot of Gene Kelly fans out there, I
I'm
think.
not naming any of the movies because there's one in particular that I know if I say I don't like that movie, I will be discredited beyond belief by every film fan on earth. But let's just say I'm not a big fan of his,
Singing in
and
the
I
Rain?
think I think he's a say what?
Hey, you'll need an umbrella for it.
Isn't
Bro,
that?
you might
I'm
as well
not confirming or
at
denying
Cherbourg.
which I'm not confirming
Because
or
that would be the
denying.
one even I would be like, what the fuck?
I'm not confirming or denying which ones I'm talking
It
about,
has to be Singing in the Rain.
but I hate him a lot and don't like him whatsoever.
Speaking of
Uh,
La La Land,
say what?
speaking of La La Land,
Yeah, that he was also just a piece of shit in real life as well, so I don't really feel, I feel even less bad about dissing him. But he's a little bitch ass motherfucker and he wishes he could make something half as good as this. But yeah, so I think it honestly is, yeah, better than a lot of his work because it actually has a fucking coherent plot, but instead of just 20 minutes of dancing, but it
Uh, yeah.
just
But yeah, no, I mean, I'm glad that we liked this. That's the one thing I was like, when I was watching it, I was like, I'm pretty sure we're all gonna fuck with this. And then I saw you guys' reviews and I was like, yeah, we're all gonna fuck with this.
yeah.
Cool. And
yeah.
then that's what made me realize that, yeah, this is our first musical we have chosen that we don't hate.
Let's continue in that direction. Let's pick some other good
Really
musicals.
good.
All
You
right.
know the genetic opera is coming next.
Oh shit. This
And
podcast
Dr.
will never
Horrible.
be the same.
Well, we've seen what it's like to have a loving relationship with an ant. It was loving to say the least. Now it's on to see what a relationship with your uncle might be like. The motherfucker. The goddamn motherfucker. This movie left me Park Chan shook. It's crazy. And I'm about to get into it because it is The Handmaiden.
Now this is the one with Elizabeth Moss, right?
Yes,
No,
Hulu, yeah.
not at all.
You're
Oh,
telling me I binge watched that shit all
I
yes
had to I had to spend the
for
whole
nothing.
night, Sam, watching that entire thing for nothing.
After you picked the SNL episode, Matt, I said no TV shows on this show whatsoever, and I said no Handmaid's Tale. We're doing The Handmaiden, which is it's a Korean film directed by Park Chan-wook, and also has it's like 60% Japanese, which I really appreciated that they differentiated the languages in the color of the subtitles from yellow to white. And fuck you, Tubi, you piece of shit company, for removing my pick this week, which was originally The Wolf House, which hopefully one day I will finally get on this show, but I've really wanted to watch it. So I was thinking to myself, it's Women Appreciation Month. What movie can I pick that is the most powerful feminine film that I can pick? And The Handmaiden came. The Handmaiden came and it went with it. This movie is about multiple different things, but specifically, we get a tumultuous time in 1930s where Japan has major control over Korea, and there's a plot. There's a very big plot.
Would just like to point out real quick, this is the third movie on this podcast where the fucking Japanese have invaded a fucking country that our main characters are in. I swear. It's just
I also want to point out this is yet another movie with a lot of rape in it.
You are correct. You
Yeah.
are correct. Yet again.
You lost your handmaiden. She did some naughty shit with a guest. No go. No go. You get a new handmaiden, but you don't know that she is there to get you to leave your uncle who has raised you since you were like 8 or 9, it seemed like. She looked very, very fucking young. To be his sex slave, his concubine, his marriage ideology. Said fuck his wife. His wife can go fucking kill herself for all he cares about. And so she is there. She has this new handmaiden. Her new handmaiden is a minx who is going to attract everything about her. But she's supposed to be in love with the count. The count's the one. And she's telling you your nails have grown longer, your skin's looking better. You should be with the count. But she's there to get you to do that because things are not good. They want the money. They want the sex. They want the freedom. And all of that comes with the manipulation and the interwoven plot where everyone is talking to somebody else and you don't know that at the time. And all of it comes together into a head at the very end, very reminiscent of The Last Night in some regards as well, talking about 3-part stories as well as our previous one. And I fucking love this movie. This movie is so goddamn good. This is my second time watching the perfection that is Park Chan-wook's The Handmaiden. I know most people say Old Boy, but this one really, really gets me. And I am sorry that the ending of this was spoiled for you, Matt, which is why I was like, choose your words carefully because I saw you reviewed this less than me and Jackson did. And
Well, it's just 'cause,
I
yeah,
want to know why you were not enthusiastic and everything about this movie, especially when they're all like, oh,
I saw most of it kind of coming, so I was just waiting on it to get there, which is the issue I had, which is not like the movie's not bad. And I'm sure if I didn't know, I would have been more invested, but I was kind of like, because he went in on the presentation. Like he actually explained a lot of shit about the movie and stuff like that. So I knew that, they threw the other girl in there and
Who
all
the
that
fuck
shit.
would
So,
do that? Like,
that ruins
why
the
would you
whole-
spoil the entire fucking movie? I mean, that's just shitty.
yeah, I mean, because the whole thing was you have to pick a scene from a movie and people didn't know. For some reason, that throws people off when you have to pick one scene from a movie to talk about it. And
Which scene?
it was the one where they decide to, or they like rebel and start like ripping up all the stuff. But he
You
also
don't need to
You don't need to
spoil.
explain the whole damn thing just to explain that
he
scene.
did. Yeah, he was like showing the scene from earlier where they get put in the thing and or she gets put in the mental house and all that shit and was going through it all and I was like, okay, cool. And I was like, I don't really need to.
I've
really-
seen this movie and I just want everyone to know.
I know. I was like, shit, dude. So I just really haven't seen it, and it's not that I didn't like it. I didn't think it was not bad. I just for me it just didn't hit. I was kind of waiting on it. And the only thing that I will say that like I don't really like about a lot. I mean, to me it just seemed a little too desaturated, and I guess that's the point. But like it just seemed a little too drab. for me. I wanted more colors, kind of like Umbrella, but Umbrellas of uh,
I think they used the colors very well. Like that end with the blue smoke, that was fucking great.
the blue
And
smoke was cool. And like I don't know, it just seemed a little too the color palette just seemed kind of subdued, and that just didn't drag me in as much as I wanted to. But I did like some scenes. I didn't get to enjoy all of them because I was watching this in the living room. A long story short about it, it was on Amazon. I have to use the account up there. So I was watching it there, and of course my aunt decides to come down to start putting stuff up right when all the crazy sadistic sexual shit is going on. And so I cannot necessarily sit there and enjoy it. I'm just kind of like I'm like tempted to pause it, but I don't want to pause it on a wrong, so it's just like
you and
but
Sam kind of both were the victim of the same thing, which was you just weren't quite in the right headspace while watching it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think I yeah, this that too. If I had been in a better headspace, I may have enjoyed it more too. And it's not, but
The
um,
sheer intimacy between um Lady Hideko and our main girl
Yuki.
Suki
that's what I mean.
is
Yeah.
just so good. And it is the second movie in a row with a fuck you to another person who took care of someone else because they recreated the scene in one of the books with the bells.
Oh, that's what you're doing. Okay. I couldn't figure out what you were trying to reference. Okay,
Um,
I get it.
and he was dead. He couldn't see that. He didn't get to witness. He didn't even get to learn what it was like to have sex with her because he was fucking lying. But and the importance of that moment really it hits because I was reading about where Korean women would go to bed with silver knives in case they ever had the attempt of rape against them, and so they would kill themselves. And so the fact that she pulled it on him when he got close, I was like, oh, this has a whole different level of meaning. And then she starts masturbating with the goddamn knife handle to break her hymen and become married. It's just, yeah. And then cuts her fucking hand. The shit goes hard. And then you got the octopus in the basement. And I
This,
really want some octopus shit to go down, but we got enough of that in the books.
yeah, no, we got some hentai shit in those books. You could say that this movie is the origin story of that. Back in the days, it was invented by Koreans, not by the Japanese. Just blew your mind there.
And
But
it is for the kids too. It is
yes,
friendly hentai.
yes, of course. This whole movie is for the kids.
Unless you read it wrong, and then he's gonna beat your hand with a like just just mercilessly beat your hand.
Yeah, the uncle fucking sucks, man. There is no question
I
about it.
almost painted my tongue black and like did my lips for this episode, and Stuart was like, you literally said you were gonna talk about how it's Women Appreciation Month and
Then you're
the
gonna drop at
pieces
the
are so
end.
great, and you're about to cosplay as the fucking dude who
You should
is
have done it. You should have done it. You should have done it. That would have been fucking
Still a
hilarious. It would have
step in
been
the
worth
right
it for the
direction.
joke. It would have been worth it just because
yeah.
it would have been funny. But
But Min-hee is so fucking good as Hideko, especially in the second part when you get basically the parts of her handmaiden, her story, and then the fallout. And her part in the second act is my favorite of the three parts. And just the way that she manipulated her from the beginning and you didn't even realize it is crazy. And then you see that perspective and the funniest moment in all three episodes for me or all three movies this week was when she was holding her legs as she was trying to hang herself and then
Like,
um she let go of her and then she started like actually choking and she had to run back and grab her and I was like this movie has it all. It has
it's so weird because so much of the movie is so dead serious, but then there's just that one moment that's really funny.
really funny.
Yeah, this was also my second time watching this. And man, I remember the first time I saw this, it absolutely blew my, I'm in complete agreement with you, Sam. I think this movie's a fucking masterpiece. I really think it's one of the greatest movies ever. It's really just first time I saw it, it just blew me the fuck away. I was like, wow, man, that was a lot. And this time I was like pretty much the same, just like, damn, this is every bit as good as I remember. I can't fucking that
The shot,
motherfucking Park. Shout out to the motherfucking Park Chan-wook. My boy gets it done every fucking time. I mean, Jesus, that boy can fucking direct. It's just immaculate. I mean, just it's one of those movies where just every detail like is thought of. Every detail is immaculate. It's so
I'm thinking of
intricately, finely, constructed, every part of it, every shot, every fucking like costume, every fucking, everything down to the last detail, especially since, he's got to keep the details consistent because you're seeing the story told from two different perspectives, a lot of the same events. So he's got to make sure that it all tracks, and it really does because, you know, I can't even really say that I like one part more than the other because they're all crucial to each other. They don't work without each other. Like the second part does not work without the first, and vice versa. It's just like, it's all one machine, it's all one painting. You just can't see the whole thing yet, basically. And it's just, yeah,
that's where I'm thinking of what Matt was saying about Banshees and how like you could just take any frame off of that movie and be like put it up on your wall, and that's
absolutely.
exactly what this movie is. And I'm thinking of the part where they're at the mental institution and you see the shot of the Count and Hideko in the car, and you have the street that splits outwards, but you have the walls like kind of coming in on either side too. So there's so much depth, and then you could go either way, and it just I love this movie.
Yeah, no, yeah, I really think it's, I think again, and shout out to Chung Hoon who shot it, who has shot most of Park's movies, and has shot a lot of other stuff. He's a fucking amazing cinematographer. And yeah, I think again, just I think because with his movies, the color palette, like kind of to your point, Matt, like it's not always super vibrant, but it like the color palette in each of his movies, it's exactly what it's supposed to be to like capture whatever environment or whatever mood this movie has. Like Old Boy was the same way, Thirst was the same way, where, you know, if there are parts where it's supposed to be more vibrant and colorful that matches the environment they're in or the tone of the scene, then that's what it is. If it's supposed to be more drab and more kind of like, white and black and gray, then that's even if it doesn't have any color, it looks very visually, like dazzling because again, just the how good the cinematography is and how much it just matches, the tone of the scene. Because a lot of this movie is supposed to be very drab because she's trapped in this very drab house, this terrible existence, But then you get scenes again like the blue smoke at the end, or like the vividness of the cherry blossoms, like it's like whenever there needs to be more color, there is, and it always like looks great. Like all of his movies have just incredible coloring and cinematography and everything. I think he knows how to use that very well. And I think again, just like what impressed me the first time about this so much is just how incredible the story was and how much depth there was to it. I mean, just there's so much. It's just this giant sprawling kind of epic story that, is just there's so much detail to it, and you really like appreciate, especially not only do you appreciate the amount of detail that they put into each of the characters and into just, the plotting of it. It takes so long to get to certain points and they put so much into it. But like, um, especially considering the nonlinear structure, again, you appreciate seeing the detail of each of the sides of the story and how they correlate eventually, and just because there were plenty of things that I didn't remember from the first time, like specifically where I was like, okay, I remember this is how we get here, but like what happens at this part? I can't remember. And I was like, oh, okay, that's how we got there. And again,
Him
it's
being in
just
the
like,
car, him being in the car with the two dudes and lighting the three last like regular cigarettes, so you only have the two mercury. I did not catch that, and so I was like, "Oh shit!" when he lit those three cigarettes and got rid of the regular ones, he saved the two blue ones. At first I thought they were just like super dosed with opium, and then when he was like, it was the blue smoke and everything, I was like, oh fuck yeah, it's the mercury,
Mhm.
and it was enough to just kill him. And then he didn't. He edged him so hard that he couldn't get to the climax until he died.
Yep. Yeah,
Straight straight gooner.
exactly. But yeah, that was another thing where like once that kind of started, I was like, I remembered, I was like, oh right, the blue cigarettes he had in the case. Yeah. So many details again where it totally tracks. That's what I mean. Like he had to get it down to the last detail because he needed to make sure it all tracked when he told the opposite side of the story, you know. And so that was something I really appreciated. And something I had forgotten was I forgot how fast it immediately got to the like erotic part of it. I remembered it taking a lot longer the first time, and I was just like, within like 15 minutes, I was like, damn, okay, I don't remember it like starting this soon. Where she's just like, oh my goodness, she's so beautiful. Well, I can't say anything. I'm just like, oh wow, I don't remember. And her like staring at her like boobs in the bathtub and everything. I'm just like, wow, I don't remember it happening this soon.
That
Okay,
was
we're getting
one
right
of the
into it.
most erotic scenes in the whole movie is when she's filing her teeth and just has
Oh
her
my God, yeah,
thumb
that
inside of her
again, I had
mouth.
forgotten about that scene, and I was like, damn, we're getting to it quick. I forgot how quick we got to it.
And then we get the whole different side of it when we get the extra part where she gets in the tub with her and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I
And
liked
I
how
love that it does that. It gives you the same story twice, but so different each time.
there are details you didn't see the first time that, that make it more. Because again, I remember that scene where, they have sex in the bed. Because I remember when that started, I was like, I remember this happening way later than this. And I was remembering the second part
And
in the second
yeah,
chapter where it goes on for much, much longer. And I was like, okay, this is what I remembered. Yeah, the much longer one that happens later. But yeah, which is kind of, and again, I like how in both cases it's like they both went into the situation with the intention of playing the other, and it was pretty much at the exact same beats both times that they kind of actually fell for each other and stopped wanting to trick them, And that scene,
at the same time when they both admit it to each other.
yeah, exactly. It's like they at each moment, like when they're on the trail together and they have that kind of moment where they talk about their mom and their aunt dying, and then later when they're in the bed and just like all these moments where you kind of see it from both of their points of view. And then yeah, when they admit to each other under the tree, and that hilarious scene happens where she drops her for a second, but um yeah, and just yeah, all the characters in it are so well layered. Like the two main girls, and then the con artist dude, and then the uncle, and I liked the head, like his like the lady who kind of ran the house. Like she was a good side character, and she's been in a few of his other movies too. So I like that he used her in
Absolute
this.
bitch when she was like, there's an oil shortage and was gonna leave her alone in the dark.
There's an ogre in that room that'll crush you. Yeah, she was mean, but yeah, the whole thing was just so, again, that was what I admired about it so much the first time, was just how immaculate, the detail was in, and just how much depth there was to the story. Like I really loved how it was just kind of this big sprawling narrative that like, with so many details and so many moving pieces and so many like great characters on the chessboard. And really the moral of the story is you know porn does you no good. That motherfucker was just, that was his problem. He was too horny. Like he was reading too much porn.
Straight gooning. Straight gooning.
He's a gooner. He absolutely was. And he because again, like you just watch that scene at the end. He will not, like, he's like, was it like the thing that happened in that story? Or was it like the thing that happened in that story? Or, oh, tell me it was like the thing that happened in that story. And I'm just like, bro, you are too horny. Like, stop reading porn so much. Like it's rotting your brain. Too much
You
hentai.
To
It's
the
like
digression, Cho Young-wook's music was
Beautiful. Yeah.
Ah,
I was gonna say if we
That
learned,
really stuck out to me this time. The music did.
do
yeah.
you think he had to watch that scene and like shake the bells to try to match their movements?
That's a good question. Yeah, that if so, extra props to him for that.
Uh,
Because I've had to do that here when a certain person was playing the tambourine. I had to try to match that up, and it ain't easy. So, you
he's
know,
being cheesy.
For a second,
no.
I was like, "You're doing what, Jackson?"
I'm doing all kinds of
So,
things.
sorry, man. I feel like we've been going on for a bit. I know you
Oh no, I mean,
said you enjoyed the movie, but
I
like,
enjoyed it and stuff. Like, there's not too much I have to say about it. Like, you guys said a lot of it, but there's not too much I have to say. It was good. Like, I enjoy, but it wasn't like I wasn't a super, I don't
hey,
know, pulled in.
if you ain't watch this movie and you don't start carrying around mercury cigarettes just to make sure you die with your cock intact, there's something wrong with you.
Yep. I
Okay?
Yeah.
would, I would say we've learned three things today. One, alcohol is bad from Hoosiers. War is bad from Umbrellas of Cherbourg, and porn is bad from the Handmaiden.
Damn.
Alcohol, war, and porn, the three worst vices of humanity, truly.
Yes.
Which two of these areas make sense why they're censoring these things? France? Well, I guess it's because that they're censoring war, not alcohol or porn, because that's where it thrives.
Exactly.
So,
Like when they were, we're gonna have France after us after I say this, but when they were talking about like, oh, well, we don't want to tell him that you're pregnant because we're worried he won't get married to you. I'm like, it's France. Who the fuck cares? You think they have any sexual morals in France? They don't know what those two words don't go together in a sentence in that country. But my apologies to our French listeners. We have
if they
Ireland,
can withstand
Algeria, Russia,
quarrel,
and France after us now.
if they can withstand quarrel, they can withstand that.
Yeah, good point. I think I made a joke in Umbrellas of Cherbourg that he went to. That was where he went to. I said they're going to send him to the cock-shaped building where Corell went, and he's going to get into all kinds of adventures there, getting fucked in the ass by everybody in town.
Gambling.
That was the part of the movie we didn't see.
The part I could not believe, but I also loved it because we've also talked about other movies on this cast where someone dresses like the other gender and no, like we talked The Substance where she had the mask on and nobody paid attention with that. Where she was dressed up as the man going on the cruise ship. It gives a new meaning to cruising and swinging, but those are two different subjects of this movie, not at the same time.
That's right.
And she just rips off that mustache and she's hot as fuck. And
And
dude dressed up in the suit.
it's ironic that, well, two things. One, it's ironic that this movie that's a lesbian love story ends with them putting balls in their mouth, I would say. But I thought that was definitely an odd
It
choice.
technically ends with them having balls, not in their mouth, but just having balls,
They
period.
definitely put them in their mouth at one point.
Well, yes,
I
but
mean, if you could,
afterward,
you put your own balls in your mouth, right?
Well, of course.
Everyone would. Taste
But
test.
thought
I
that
do
was
want to see,
I
or
thought perhaps that was a symbolic choice of sorts, but no, it's probably just a coincidence. But what was I gonna say? Oh, but again, baby snatching in Korea, be real, yo, because at the beginning they're sending all those babies to families that aren't theirs. And I'm just like, all these rich families snatching up these babies, and I'm just like, man, it's just a problem all over the globe. We got to stop it. We're calling on all countries to ban baby snatching.
or about a all those babies were snatched for Harmony Korine's new movie, Baby Invasion.
Yes, indeed. That's a good
Um,
point. Which will not be going to theaters, shockingly.
hey, I have my account with edgelord.com. I'm gonna be able to watch it.
I'm gonna rent out a theater just to watch this movie.
There you go. But yeah, no, again, like very, the very beautiful story, very, um, just great story about like the two main girls are such great, well-developed characters. You love how, they both came from you really again, they feel so fleshed out and three-dimensional. Like all the characters do, but the main two girls in particular, they feel very fleshed out and three-dimensional, and they feel very like you got the one girl who's the I love that conversation she had where she's talking about like, did my mom scream before she died? She said scream. She fucking laughed, she loved it. Like, like her mom was a legendary thief and she kind of followed in her footsteps. And, the other girl was very obviously repressed throughout her entire childhood by her uncle and, just
And she
being in
knew.
that
She
great.
fucking knew that he caused her aunt's death because as a kid she said, I'm reading that when you hang yourself, your tongue sticks out and you shit yourself, and neither of those were the case with her aunt.
That was also another part that I didn't remember. I said, I'll be damned, that piece of shit killed the ant himself. I didn't
He
remember
took her
that
to the
part.
basement.
Yeah, the fucking basement. But yeah, he's such a bastard. But again, like I love the like her story of like basically her whole life she's kind of been primed to follow in her aunt's footsteps and meet the same fate and hang herself from the tree, and the moment comes where it's like here it comes, been waiting for it my whole life, now it's the time, and she ultimately is saved and chooses not to go down that path and finds love instead. And again, it's like kind of like Umbrellas of Cherbourg, where it's like, you stuck it out and you had a good, romantic resolution in the end. And it's, after going through all this pain, you stuck it out and you had a good, you met a good person and you had a good, romance with that person. And love wins in the end. I'm being more lovey in this than I was in the Valentine's Day episode. Yeah, there you go.
That's the real love.
Is there more? Is there a truer love than having balls in your mouth? I don't think so.
True.
At least
That,
not in my experience.
that's the most intimate kind of love.
There you go. That's it right there.
I do want to say it is a very interesting time that for once Jackson is 3 for 3 and Matt and I are 2 for 3. Um,
Even necessarily, I guess I am 2 for 3, but I didn't hate. I wasn't like this sucks. I probably
yeah,
watch it again in
I
the
feel
future.
like as long as you don't dislike
So,
it counts as like,
yeah, I'm still 3 for 3. I would
well,
say.
I'm a lone wolf.
Sam has a mob mentality and likes forming angry mobs against people and hates
I
small
don't want
town.
to see the underdog win,
He hates
okay?
small town America. He hates underdogs. He hates heartwarming stories. He we should have gathered this from him not liking Wallace and Gromit. He doesn't like heartwarming things, but such is the way of things, I suppose.
It's the way. But I do want to leave y'all with a few little extra notes. Matt kind of summarized a very good 3 moral lesson of each of our films, but I also do want to say that dude's fucking heel, his turn heel was fucking turned, and he was moving that shit, and that kid should have been fucking called out and fouled in that first game that they played. Fuck that shit too. When you're going to Algeria, when you're going to Algeria, chain her up. She's gonna find another dude that's gonna leave you, and it's not good. It's not good. But at least you'll be able to sing your heart out to her at the very end and tell her to go fuck herself. And Francoise, the little girl, is not going to ever meet her father because if you didn't get France mad at you, Jackson, I will say any fucking Frenchman who abandons his child for another family is a deadbeat piece of shit. And that is
All
what
of them.
he was. He was a deadbeat piece of shit.
I
You're
can't
talking about all
believe.
of them. You're
How
talking
could
about all of them.
there's such a thing as that?
And third, we wouldn't be here in cinema without the original women helping make the silent films happen, and we would not have anything in regards to the greatness that is The Handmaiden without Park Chan-wook. And I just want to appreciate everything that is Park Chan-wook films, female cinema, lesbian cinema, and sticking it to the goddamn schmucks that are going to treat you like a piece of shit as a kid, and B, get you not if you don't drink your drink when she's trying to drug you, she needs to leave because he is going to eventually do the worst.
She got him with that one. That was clever.
He
Just like
did.
passing the wine in between I was like, she fucking got him with that one, man.
I felt so bad when she was checking the watch after she was already fucked up, but he was not. And then he was like, just like the stories told you, like they
It's
like it when it's rough.
it's
And
funny because I said to myself when he passed out, I was like, "Oh, that was perfect timing." And I was like, "That's why she was looking at the watch." There you go. Perfect timing.
Sam over here being fucking Park Chan woke.
I am Park Chan Wook after being Park Chan shook. It's been a wild episode, and I hope everyone enjoyed the movies. Let us know in the comments what movies you like. Let me know, and each of y'all know if you did not like a specific movie that any of us specifically chose, because I want each of us to know that someone did not like each of these movies. It's been a 3 for 3.
If you've ever had balls in your mouth, then let us know in the comments as well about that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And let us know. Actually, that's a good thing, Sam. Let us know if you're 3 for 3.
Exactly. I
That'll
want
make
to know. I really do.
We can start putting out polls if we want. Like
a good
saying,
idea.
like, were you 0, 1, 2, or 3 for 3 this week? So I think that might be fun. And Sam, I don't know for sure, but I think this episode will. Okay, no, it will go up within March. I was about to say, I don't know if it's going to go up in March or
It's the last
April
week of March. That's why I had to.
because I was like, if you're doing the whole Women's History Month thing and this goes up in April, that's going to be fucking hilarious. But
Gotta put on April's Fools.
but this will be up on March 26th, so you got in just in time.
Sometime.
Will we be putting it up on April Fools? Let's see what the.
Fuck you, Matt. You guys.
We
Try
are
to do
We're
recording.
gonna
something.
record on April
Do
Fool.
something.
We do record on April Fools.
We're gonna record on it, so some fuck shit will be going on that week, no question.
We have to keep just doing like the worst April Fools jokes.
Well, we said in a past episode, let's do the April Fool's joke because Sam always picks the movies with the moms who have cancer. Let's bring his mom in to say, surprise, Sam. Peace out, everyone.